But today we're going to do something different. We had a YouTuber actually respond to one of our videos, and we really appreciate him. His name is Philip Arm. He wrote us, asked us. We said, sure, great, go for it. He sent us the link. We watched it, and I wasn't initially, Lacey hasn't seen this yet, just FYI. But I watched it, and initially I was like, oh, we're not going to bother responding. But then it got, within a couple of minutes, it got kind of wild. And so I thought, okay, I'll watch the rest of it. And so I watched the rest of it. And he kind of inadvertently brings up a lot of stuff that Lacey and I have complained about for months. We just never have enough time because we only have enough time for our schedules to do one 90-minute show a week. That's all we got, because they take a lot of prep time too. It's not like, it takes at least 5 to 10 hours of research, depending on the episode, right? So for us, it's kind of like, wow. And so he brought up a lot of stuff that we have all this extra research we never get in because we're trying to keep it tight. But he brought up this stuff, so I thought, well, we'll just go over his video today because he inadvertently steps into a bunch of this stuff. But it does gauge the fact that and this is where I'm going to get in and tell you, this is where the gauge gets interesting about that when he points this out. But they're missing this point. So why does he pick $25 an hour? Because $25 an hour and an average working year is $50,000 a year.
Average income.
Median income. So half of all Americans are making $52,000 or less. All right. It's actually $54,000 is the median. I was off on that. But what we're saying is half of working Americans are making less. They're making that amount or less, right? They're making the living wage or less. Right. And when we go through this video, I say or less like 5 or 6 times because I want to clarify. That doesn't mean that half are making that amount of money. It means they're making that or less than that.
Right. It means they're not making more than that.
Right. Which means half the people are barely getting by or beneath barely getting by on an average national level. So just to help clarify this, he confused it. So people confuse this all the time, and I want to put a pin in it because this is important. Median versus average, just in general, but median wage versus average. He thought it was the average income. It's not. So the median income in the United States is $54,132. That's what it was, I think, last year, 2022. So that means the median means half the people make that amount or above, and half make that amount or less. Okay.
Right. The median is literally the number in the middle.
The middle, yes.
Right.
So
right.
Let's do a scenario. Lacey and I are a country. Lacey makes $100,000 a year. I make $1 a year. The median income is $1 because half of us make $1 or less, and the other half make $1 or more. Right? So that's the median income in our country is $1. Even though Lacey makes $100,000, I only make $1. The average is calculated by averaging our incomes together and then dividing it by the number of people. So in our case, it would be $101,000 is the total income for 2 people. We divide it by 2. So the average income in gossip finance land would be $50,000.50. Well, here's the thing. If you're sitting there going, well, look, there's 2 people there and 50,000, 50 cents is the average. They're probably doing okay. No, Lacey's doing okay. I'm flat on my ass. I only got $1 a year. That's why the median is important, because the gap between the median and the average tells you how tilted the things are to the top. Right? So the average income in the United States, let me pull this back over, is $71,456. So it's tilted more towards the top, but I'll show you. So there are approximately 211 million workers here in the U.S. Whoops, sorry, I want to go back. 211 million workers in the U.S., according to the census.gov. This was 2022. So 105,000 of them, 105,500, are making this amount of $54,000 or less. Some are making that. Most of them are making less than that. I want to keep putting a pin in that. I thought I did it a bunch of times in this video, in the last video, but apparently this gets lost. So a lot of people are making less than the median. Okay. If you look at the average, 31.85%, so 32% make the average or more, and 68.15% make that or less. I actually think I less, not more. Sorry, I screwed that up on that. But that means approximately 143 million Americans make less than the average. Okay? So there's a big, big difference there, right? 2/3 of the people in this country don't even make average income, which means that other third is making so much money they tilt the average up, right? But now's where it gets really kind of funny. So I thought, good point. Look, we're looking at what minimum people need to survive, right? Kind of average minimum people need to survive. And I'm making the point that half the people aren't even meeting it or barely meeting it. So that signifies a serious problem that a lot of people in this country aren't even meeting a living wage. We're talking about 90 to 100 million people can't even meet basic standard of living on the living wage calculator, right? But Phil takes this in a completely different direction.